Now you talk about that serious crisis, and it's interesting you said we are living in a fool's paradise because I think load shedding, if we don't see it, we like to think maybe it's not there or maybe it's getting better. But like you said earlier in this interview, it actually is getting worse. And the fact that we're not seeing load shedding means that this country is in for some tough times ahead. You say it's a serious crisis. What can this serious crisis lead to if it's not addressed properly?
The fundamental bottom line why I'm saying it's a crisis, it comes down to economic growth. Absolutely. To me, if we don't grow this country's economy, we can forget about everything else. We can forget about lifting people out of poverty. We can forget about creating jobs. We can forget about reducing inequality. It's a fact. There's just no other way we can forget about attracting investment into this country, which underpins all the other three factors. That's a fact. And that to me is the crisis. So when I say crisis, I'm not... Eskom has done a lot of good work, and a lot of people will say I'm being alarmist. I might sound that way because we haven't had load shedding. My bottom line is go look at the economic data, economic growth figures, and then you tell me we're not in a crisis. We are. When you and then we look at the National Development Plan, and this is going to answer your question. The National Development Plan is the policy that's supposed to take our country forward into the future. Yeah. It's a plan that we go out into the world and say, come invest in South Africa. This is what we're going to do to make this country the star in Africa and in the world. That plan stands and falls on average economic growth of 5.5% per year, and we are growing at 1.5%. There's no way the NDP is workable. We can literally throw it away at this stage, unless we think we're going to be growing at 9-10% from 2020 onwards. And given the numbers I told you about, projections for expected capacity building, I don't see where that growth is going to come from.
Now you said in the book that the plans to get South Africa out of this are outdated by at least 5 years. Can you unpack that a little bit more?
So the plan that we're relying on at the moment is called the Integrated Resource Plan 2010. It was designed in 2010 and agreed upon and made policy 2011. So it's about 5 years ago. And that's the thing we're using on. According to that plan calls for nuclear build for 9.6 gigawatt, for instance. Massively outdated. All the models, all the projections, the data, the figures in that is outdated, and I don't understand why it hasn't been updated till now. I don't understand. So we are using that plan at this stage to develop what we should do to grow our electricity industry going forward. So 9.6 gigawatts, should we still be building that massive amount of nuclear? Should we not start looking at gas, for instance? Gas is going to be a huge game changer in Africa, and at this stage, hardly touched upon in any policy in this country. And it's just unfathomable that we can keep trying to, it's like we're going forward blindfolded, one hand behind our back, and we're saying this is what we're going to do. But it's like we've got to get with the times. We've got to update the policy. We've got to get the people in there permanently and make sure they implement updated, relevant policy.
Now you spoke about gas. You said gas is going to be a big game changer on the African continent. Why?
Simply because, so gas is, the bad thing about gas is it's still a fossil fuel. So similar to coal, it's a fossil fuel, so it emits carbon emissions. It's bad for climate change, global warming. So that's the bad thing. The good thing is it's a lot less pollutant than coal. A lot less. I think about only a quarter compared to coal. So in South Africa, we've had tremendous amount of coal, and we've been using coal massively because we've got such a lot of it. It's a cheap form of electricity, but it's heavily pollutant. Eskom is responsible for 50% of all the carbon emissions in South Africa. So they've got to look at getting electricity that's cleaner, and gas is one option. So because it's a lot cleaner than coal, and it's still cheaper than some of the other forms of electricity. And now you've got to, so the question is, where do we get gas from? And that's why there's a lot of talk about fracking. Government hopes that we can get our own gas by fracking. And my opinion is, our neighboring countries, Mozambique is specifically, have just made, over the past 5 years, tremendous gas deposits has been found in Mozambique. It's there, it's a proven resource. There's no need to go further exploring, fracking, hoping we find a deep well. Let's just go to Mozambique, country to country, get an arrangement, get the gas, get it here, and retrofit some of our existing power stations, use the gas, which is a lot cleaner, until we have better solutions going forward. That's what I think we should do.
Why aren't we doing that?
I don't know. I suppose, again, it comes down to policy. There's no policy guiding us that says, hey, government, listen, gas is a solution. There's a lot of it in Mozambique. Let's do this. Let's do it like that. I think policy is one of the big challenges, and then leadership, I suppose, would fit into that. So with the revolving people, one person would be say we need gas, the next would say we need nuclear, the next would say we need this. Perhaps the people at the moment are not that fond of gas simply. I don't know.